What if everything you know, the stars, the gods, the oceans, even time itself, was born from one silent, endless breath? Tonight, we travel to the moment before existence had a name. Long before Olympus crowned the sky, long before the Titans sculpted the world, long before Zeus ever raised his thunderbolt, there was nothing. Not darkness, not emptiness, not even silence. There was only chaos. A vast, unfathomable void, a womb of potential, a place where nothing existed, and yet everything waited to be born. The ancient Greeks believed that chaos was the first condition of reality. Not a monster, not a force of destruction, but the raw material of existence itself. Chaos was the breath before creation. The pause before the first note of a cosmic symphony. And from this shapeless depth, the universe began to awaken. The first stirrings of existence. From chaos, slowly and quietly, the first beings emerged, not gods as we imagine them, but vast primordial principles. The first was Gaia, the earth, solid, eternal, the foundation upon which all life would one day grow. Gaia was not shaped, she simply was, a presence of stability in the midst of endless formlessness. Then came Tartarus, a deep abyss beneath all things, a cosmic pit so far below the earth that even light would never dare to enter. Tartarus would become the prison of monsters, the home of ancient secrets, and the shadow beneath creation's feet. Next arose Eros, the primordial force of attraction, not the winged child of later myths, but a vast cosmic principle, the force that binds matter, that draws beings together, that makes creation possible. Without Eros, nothing would have form, nothing could unite, and nothing could be born. Chaos then birthed Erebus, the darkness of the underworld, and Nyx, the eternal night. Nyx drifted across the early universe like a silent veil, her shadow so ancient and powerful that even Zeus in later ages would tread carefully in her presence. From the union of night and darkness came two new spirits, Aether, the bright upper air of the gods, and Hemera, daylight. With their arrival, light and darkness began their eternal cycle, a rhythm that would guide the world for all ages to come. And so, from the quiet heart of chaos, the first architecture of existence unfolded. Gaia, the first form. Gaia, vast and powerful, spread across the emptiness. She formed mountains, cliffs, fields and valleys, the first terrain of the universe. But Gaia was alone, a world without a sky, a mother without a partner. So from her very being, she gave rise to Uranus, the sky. Uranus stretched above her like a gleaming canopy of stars, a brilliant arch rising from horizon to horizon. Their union was effortless, divine, and inevitable. Earth and sky became the first harmonious pair, the foundation of all life. Together, they shaped the first era of creation. The birth of the Titans. From the union of Gaia and Uranus came the first generation of beings who would truly rule the cosmos, the Titans. 12 powerful entities whose names echo through the ages. Oceanus, the encircling sea. Hyperion, the light of the heavens. Theia, bringer of radiance. Coes, axis of intellect. Creus, keeper of constellations. Iapetus, father of mortality. Themis, the order of justice. Mnemosyne, the keeper of memory. Phoebe, the moon's first light. Tethys, the nourishing waters. Rhea, the mother of gods. And youngest of all, Cronus, sharp-minded, ambitious, and destined to reshape the world. But Uranus, fearful of their power, did not allow their children to rise. One by one, as each Titan was born, Uranus forced them deep into Gaia's body, imprisoning them in shadow. Gaia groaned in pain, not merely physical pain, but the anguish of betrayal. The child she created to complete the world had turned against her. In her sorrow and in her fury, Gaia resolved to act. From deep within the earth, Gaia forged a weapon, an unbreakable sickle crafted from the hardest stone in creation. She called to her children to stand with her, to break free from Uranus's tyranny. But 11 Titans hesitated, fearful, uncertain, bound by the sky that pressed down upon them. Only one stepped forward, Cronus, younger than his siblings, yet sharper, bolder, unwilling to live in shadows. Gaia placed the sickle in his hands, and with it the weight of destiny. When Uranus descended to embrace Gaia, Cronus struck, seizing the moment that would change the universe. The blow was swift, terrible, and final. Uranus, the sky, was torn away from the earth, separated forever. And as he fell, his blood gave rise to the giants, the Furies, and the ash-tree nymphs. From the foam of the sea into which his form fell, one day Aphrodite would arise. But that moment belongs to another story. For now the cosmos trembled. A new order began. Cronus, victorious, took power. But with his victory came a prophecy. One day your child will overthrow you, just as you have overthrown your father. The cycle had begun, a cycle that would eventually give birth to Zeus, Olympus, and the age of the gods. But that will come in part 2. Symbolic analysis. The Greek creation myth teaches that existence begins not in chaos of violence, but in chaos of potential. From the void came form, from silence came song, from darkness came the spark of creation, and from oppression came rebellion, the force that moves time forward. Chaos is not confusion. Chaos is possibility. It is the reminder that even when everything seems empty, something new is preparing to rise. If the earth itself could feel loneliness, what would it create to fill the silent sky above it? In the beginning, after chaos had stirred the first breaths of existence into motion, the universe stood in a fragile balance, light and darkness circling one another, creation rising from the void piece by piece. Gaia had formed. She was earth, vast, powerful, layered with mountains, valleys, oceans, and deep caverns. But despite her greatness, Gaia was incomplete. The world beneath was alive with potential, yet the expanse above her was empty. A hollow ceiling of darkness stretching endlessly, lacking form, lacking meaning, lacking companionship. Gaia, the eternal mother, felt a silence so deep that it echoed through her very core. And so, from her longing, from her desire to complete the world, a new being began to emerge, a being that would reshape the heavens, the birth of Uranus. Gaia, reaching into the cosmic realm above her, created Uranus, the sky, not as a man, not as a figure with limbs or voice, but as a vast, star-filled dome, a shimmering vault that arched across her body. When Uranus opened his first glimmer of light, the universe was transformed. Where once there was emptiness, now there were stars. Thousands, millions, glittering across a dark canvas like divine embers. Uranus stretched from horizon to horizon, enwrapping Gaia in an embrace of starlight. Their union was not physical, it was cosmic, a harmony between land and sky, between stability and vastness, between earth and eternity. Gaia had created not just a companion, but a counterpart, an equal in scale and presence. Together, they became the first true foundation of the cosmos. The first age begins. Under the arching dome of Uranus, Gaia grew stronger. Her oceans deepened. Her mountains reached higher. Her winds began to stir for the first time, traveling between her slopes and the inner belly of the sky. Rivers carved their paths across her skin. Clouds formed, drifting softly beneath Uranus. Night fell naturally, and day returned at the rise of the first light. Earth and sky were in perfect balance, or so it seemed, because creation, once set in motion, rarely stops. Gaia's power was too fertile, too abundant to remain still, and Uranus, majestic and brilliant, watched from above as new forces prepared to awaken in the depths of the earth. The first children of earth and sky. Gaia, full of life and potential, gave birth to beings of immense strength and form. These were the Titans, 12 colossal entities whose names would be etched into the bones of mythology. Oceanus, the endless river surrounding the earth. Hyperion, the light of the heavens. Coeus, axis of intelligence. Creus, keeper of celestial order. Iapetus, forefather of mankind. Theia, goddess of radiance. Rhea, mother of future gods. Themis, justice and divine order. Mnemosyne, memory itself. Phoebe, lunar brilliance. Tethys, waters that nourish. Cronus, the youngest, sharpest, most ambitious. Each Titan was born with purpose, each one a living fragment of the cosmos. But to Uranus, their power was terrifying. The sky, towering and brilliant, feared what lay within the earth, feared that these mighty children might one day challenge him. So he acted not with wisdom, but with fear.
Uranus oppresses his children. As each Titan was born, Uranus forced them back into the depths of Gaia, into darkness, into confinement, into a place where their strength could not rise. Gaia trembled. The weight of her imprisoned children pressed against her mountains, strained her oceans, shook her inner veins. Her pain was not only physical, it was betrayal. She had created Uranus from her own essence, not to bring suffering, but to complete the world. Yet the sky she birthed had become her warden. The once perfect harmony was cracking. Night after night, Gaia's sorrow grew. Day by day, her anger lit embers within her core. The earth began to whisper. The mountains rumbled. The oceans churned. Creation itself sensed that something was wrong. Gaia's resolution. Gaia could not free her children alone. She needed one who would stand with courage, with strength, with a will sharper than fear. So she forged a weapon, a massive, unbreakable sickle crafted from stone and starlight. Its edge glowed with divine energy. Its weight carried the promise of destiny. Gaia called out to the Titans, "Who among you will rise?" 11 remained silent. But one, the youngest, the keenest, the one who watched the world with sharp, calculating eyes, Cronus, stepped forward. This moment, this single act of defiance, would divide the ages. It would end one era and begin another. But the full story of Cronus belongs to the next chapter. For now, the world waits at the edge of an ancient rebellion. Symbolic meaning. The union of Gaia and Uranus is more than creation myth. It is the foundation of duality, earth and sky, below and above, stability and infinity, nurture and authority. Yet even in creation, shadow grows. Fear can twist love. Power can consume harmony. And the seeds of conflict often grow in silence long before they burst into history. The story of Gaia and Uranus is the story of the world learning to balance itself and failing. Outro. Call to action. If this journey into the earliest age of myth has captured your imagination, then the story is only just beginning. The rebellion of Cronus, the fall of Uranus, the birth of the Titans, and the rise of Zeus are all still to come. Your support helps this channel bring these ancient stories to life with greater detail, beauty, and depth.
What if the first generation of gods were not born in light, but in the silent tension between earth and sky? In the earliest age of creation, the universe had finally settled into its first fragile shape. Gaia, the earth, stretched wide and fertile, and Uranus, the sky, arched proudly above her, glittering with stars newly awakened. Their union was cosmic, not mortal. They did not speak with voices, nor touch with hands. They moved the world simply by existing. But creation rarely ends with harmony. When earth and sky embraced, something powerful began to grow between them, forces neither Gaia nor Uranus could fully predict. From the pressure of their union, From the meeting of matter and the infinite dome above, the first generation of divine beings emerged. Beings ancient, colossal, and destined to shape the fate of gods. They were called the Titans. The first child of earth and sky. Gaia was the first to feel the stirring deep within her being, a powerful presence gathering strength beneath mountains and oceans, a being vast enough to embody an entire cosmic principle. Her firstborn was Oceanus, not a man, but the endless river that encircles the world, a vast flowing boundary of water and cosmic energy. His birth marked the creation of the outermost edge of the earth, a circle of ending waves defining the limits of reality. Gaia felt the waves of Oceanus forming the earliest oceans, spreading moisture and life across her surface. Uranus watched from above, his starlit face glowing softly as the first Titan took shape. But this was only the beginning. The second-born, Hyperion. From Gaia's depths rose Hyperion, the Titan of light. He was not a god of the sun, that would come much later, but the raw light of the heavens, the fire that sets stars ablaze and gives brilliance to the cosmos. When Hyperion emerged, the sky shimmered brighter. The earliest rays of divine illumination spread across Earth's surface and reflected in the oceans of Oceanus. Light had entered the world not as warmth, but as sacred radiance. Hyperion's presence filled Uranus with pride and fear. For every new Titan was powerful, too powerful. The intellect of the cosmos, Cois. The next Titan to rise was Cois, the axis of intuition, the spark of intellect and cosmic inquiry. He embodied understanding itself, the desire to know, to question, to unravel the secrets of existence. With Cois's birth, the universe gained thought, the earliest stirrings of consciousness. His energy drifted through galaxies, probing the dark spaces between stars and the deep caverns inside Gaia. Uranus felt a tremor run through him. Light could be controlled. Water could be contained. But knowledge was dangerous. Krios, the keeper of celestial order. From Gaia's core emerged Krios, a Titan linked to constellations, seasons, and the turning of the heavens. He was the silent architect who would one day influence the structure of time. His presence gave direction to the stars, not movement, but purpose. Under Krios, the sky began to rotate gently. The first cosmic order emerged from the swirling chaos of starlight. Uranus felt control slipping further. The sky was no longer simply his. It was taking on life, structure, will. Iapetus, the father of mortality. Next rose Iapetus, a Titan whose presence would echo through all future ages. He represented mortality, the fragility of life, the concept of ending. His essence introduced something new into the cosmos, the understanding that creation could one day cease. Iapetus was the shadow cast by Hyperion's light, the necessary opposite that creates meaning. Gaia trembled at the weight of Iapetus, and Uranus recoiled.
Mortality had no place in a world he wanted to rule forever. This was the first seed of conflict, the first sign that Uranus would not allow the natural balance of Gaia's children. The Theia, the radiant. From Gaia's embrace arose Theia, Titaness of divine sight and celestial splendor. Theia embodied the brilliance of precious metals, the shimmer of gold and silver, the radiance of gems buried deep within Gaia. Her birth illuminated the world in new ways, not with Hyperion celestial light, but with inner beauty, reflected from the earth itself. Gaia loved her deeply. Uranus admired her and feared what she represented. The world was becoming too bright, too alive, too powerful. Rhea, the Great Mother. Then came Rhea, the Titaness of nature, life, and fertile abundance. Her presence caused flowers to bloom on mountains, rivers to find new paths, and ancient forests to begin growing in Gaia's deepest roots. Gaia cherished her, but Uranus saw Rhea not as a daughter, but as another threat. Life, creation, and beauty were rising faster than he could control. Themis, the voice of order. Emerging with calm authority, Themis took her place in the Titan line. She embodied natural law, justice, balance, and the unwritten order of the universe. She brought structure to creation. Her presence made harmony possible. But Uranus did not want balance. He wanted dominance. And so her birth only deepened his fear. Monosomy, keeper of memory. Next came Monosomy, the Titaness of memory, who held in her being the past, present, and seeds of future stories. With her arrival, the universe gained continuity, cause and effect, events and recollection. Without Monosomy, there would be no myth, no legacy, no gods to remember their origins. She was one of Gaia's most precious gifts. But to Uranus, memory meant awareness, and awareness was power. Phoebe, light of the moon. Phoebe rose with soft silver energy, the quiet radiance of night. She was the precursor of lunar light, not the moon itself, but the essence of its glow. Phoebe balanced Hyperion's brightness, calm where he was blazing, whispered light where he was flame. The sky grew more beautiful, but Uranus grew more afraid. Tethys, the nurturing waters. From Gaia's depths surged Tethys, the nurturing waters that flow through all life. Her presence intertwined with Oceanus, and together they shaped the first cycles of rivers, streams, and nourishment. Life could flourish under Tethys. Nature could grow. And with every new birth, Uranus's fear hardened. The final Titan, Cronus. The last Titan to rise was the one who would reshape destiny, Cronus. Unlike the others, he did not emerge with a single cosmic attribute. He carried ambition, cunning, sharpness of mind. Cronus was the youngest and the most dangerous. For when Uranus looked at Cronus, he did not see a child. He saw a threat that would one day fulfill Gaia's unspoken.
If destiny warned you that your greatest fear would come from your own blood, would you try to stop fate or try to outrun it?
The world stood on the edge of its first great shift. 12 Titans existed beneath the earth, colossal beings born from the union of Gaia and Uranus, each embodying a different force of creation. But they were trapped, not by weakness, not by fear, but by their own father, Uranus, the sky, who feared their growing strength and pushed them deep into Gaia's body, burying them in eternal confinement. For ages, Gaia endured the weight of her suffering children. Her mountains shook, her oceans roared, her valleys cracked beneath the strain. She had birthed life, yet she was forced to imprison it. And while Uranus glittered proudly above, Gaia plotted quietly below. She would free her children. She would take back the world. She would end Uranus's tyranny. Gaia's summoning. In the deep chambers of the earth, Gaia called her children to her. Her voice was a rumble of stone, a tremor that shook even Tartarus beneath. 12 mighty Titans, one of you must rise. But fear lingered in the hearts of 11. They had known only darkness, only confinement, only the crushing weight of sky and earth. To defy Uranus meant facing the vast dome of stars, a being older, larger, and more powerful than any Titan. Yet one Titan did not tremble. One Titan did not yield. Cronus, the youngest, the sharpest, the most ambitious, born with instinct, intellect, and a hunger for power deeper than the oceans of Oceanus. While his siblings hesitated, Cronus listened. He listened to Gaia's pain. He listened to the earth's trembling. And above all, he listened to the promise of a world where he, not Uranus, could rule. The sickle of destiny. To prepare him for rebellion, Gaia reached into her deepest core and shaped a weapon unlike any ever forged. A sickle. Its blade carved from celestial stone, its edge sharp enough to sever even the sky. It glowed faintly with primordial power, etched with cosmic runes older than memory. Gaia placed the weapon in Cronus's hands. It felt light, too light, as if destiny itself had crafted it to fit him and him alone. Cronus gripped the blade and felt the truth. He was meant to rise, meant to overthrow, meant to change the order of the universe. The night of rebellion. The moment came when Uranus descended to lie with Gaia, the sky lowering toward the earth in a gentle cosmic embrace. But this time, Gaia's mountains did not soften beneath him. Her oceans did not quiet. Her valleys did not open in welcome. Instead, Cronus rose from the depths. He hid in the shadows of Gaia's great body, clutching the sickle in silence. Uranus stretched across the earth, brilliant and unaware, and in that moment, Cronus struck. The sickle flashed with blinding light. A scream of cosmic agony shook the stars. The sky convulsed, ripped open by the blade meant to challenge eternity. In that single blow, Cronus severed Uranus from the earth and from power. The first overthrow in cosmic history had begun. The consequences of the strike. As Uranus's shattered essence fell, his blood spilled across Gaia's surface. From those drops sprang new beings, the giants, towering forces of rebellion, the Erinyes, spirits of vengeance, the Meliae, nymphs of ash and ancient forests, and from the foam of the sea, where Uranus's essence drifted, a radiant form would one day rise, Aphrodite, the goddess of beauty. Creation does not stop when power falls, it transforms. But the world had changed forever. Uranus's era had ended, Cronus's era began. Cronus takes the throne. The Titans were finally free. They rose from Gaia's depths in triumph and relief. Oceanus's waters flowed freely. Hyperion's light grew brighter. Rhea breathed fresh life through valleys. Themis restored cosmic order. And Cronus, holding the sickle that had changed the world, felt the weight of authority settle upon him. He declared himself ruler, king of the cosmos, lord of the golden age, and for a time peace returned. Under Cronus, the world entered an era of prosperity. Trees blossomed, rivers flowed, and time moved forward in new harmony. But fate, as always, was already shaping a darker path. The prophecy. In his final moments of power, Uranus spoke a curse, or perhaps a warning, a prophecy that would haunt Cronus for the rest of his reign. Just as I have fallen by the hand of my child, so too shall you fall by one of your own. Cronus froze. The words struck deeper than Gaia's sickle. He, the great overthrower, the bold warrior who defied the sky itself, would one day be overthrown by his own blood. Cronus looked upon Gaia and for the first time felt fear. The same fear that once consumed Uranus. Cronus descended into paranoia. Cronus's rule had begun in triumph, but the prophecy poisoned it. Every sound of wind felt like a whisper of doom. Every tremor of Gaia felt like rebellion. Then his children were born. But Cronus did not see them as blessings. He saw them as threats. Rhea, gentle and nurturing, presented their first child to him, a newborn glowing with divine potential. But Cronus remembered the prophecy. He remembered Uranus falling, screaming beneath the blade. And so, in a moment of terror and self-preservation, Cronus swallowed the child whole. One by one, each of Rhea's children was devoured, consumed by the father who feared their rise. Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, Poseidon, each swallowed in infancy, each trapped in the darkness of Cronus's vast stomach. Rhea wept, Gaia trembled, and Cronus believed he had beaten fate. But he was wrong. Prophecy is not a warning. It is a path. And his final child had not yet been born. Symbolic analysis. Cronus's story teaches the oldest truth of mythology. Power breeds fear. Fear breeds cruelty. And cruelty breeds downfall. Cronus overthrew Uranus only to become what he hated most. Where Uranus feared the Titans, Cronus feared the Olympians. Where Uranus chose suppression, Cronus chose consumption. The prophecy was not a warning, it was a path, and his final child had not yet been born. Outro, call to action. Cronus believes he has conquered destiny. He believes he has swallowed every future threat. But fate moves quietly, and the child who will change everything has not yet.
According to Hesiod's ancient works, especially the Theogony, the Titanomachy marks the final great struggle in the cosmic succession of Greek mythology. Chaos gave rise to Gaia. Gaia birthed Uranus. Uranus fathered the Titans. Cronus overthrew Uranus. Zeus rose against Cronus. And now, with Zeus grown to power and gathering allies, the universe stands at the brink of a conflict older than time itself. The Titanomachy is not simply a war. It is a symbolic clash of eras, a struggle between tradition and renewal, stasis and change, tyranny and liberation. To understand this battle, we must return to its spark, to the fear, prophecy, and ancient grudges that set the cosmos aflame. The aftermath of Cronos' fall. Cronus, king of the Titans, had swallowed his children for years. But Zeus escaped, hidden by Rhea, protected by Gaia, and raised in secret. When Zeus returned as a grown god, he confronted Cronus. Rhea and Metis helped him force Cronus to disgorge his siblings, Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Poseidon, and Hades. Freed, furious, and reborn, the Olympians stood beside Zeus as their leader. But the fall of Cronus did not end the struggle. It ignited it. Cronus fled to Mount Othrys, the seat of Titan power, where his brothers and sisters awaited. Iapetus, Hyperion, Coeus, Creus, and the relentless, iron-willed Atlas, whose loyalty to Cronus never wavered. There, beneath the shadow of the mountain, the old gods gathered. The Titans swore that the new generation would never rule, that Zeus would never sit on the throne of heaven, that the empire of Cronus would not fall without a storm of unimaginable fury. War was inevitable. 2. Zeus prepares for war. Zeus returned to Mount Ida and called his siblings to council. The air trembled when he spoke. We rise not just against Cronus, but against an age of fear, against the swallowing of children, against a legacy of chains. If the universe is ever to know peace, we must win this war. But the Olympians were young, inexperienced, outnumbered, outmatched. The Titans were older, stronger, and had ruled for ages. Zeus knew they could not win alone, so he turned to Gaia, the ancient mother who had witnessed every betrayal since time began. Gaia whispered to Zeus of the beings imprisoned in Tartarus, the Cyclopes and the Hecatoncheiris, the 100-handed giants capable of rending mountains, creatures so powerful that even Cronus feared them. Free them, Gaia said, and they will forge your victory." So Zeus descended into the deepest abyss. 3. The liberation of the Cyclopses. Tartarus is not merely a pit. It is a realm of darkness so ancient that even chaos recoils from it. There, Zeus walked through storms of shadow and flame, past caverns echoing with the cries of imprisoned beings older than gods. He found the Cyclopses chained in iron forged by Uranus himself. Brontes, Steropes, Arges, masters of thunder, lightning, and heavenly fire. Zeus shattered their chains with a single bolt. The Cyclopses rose, towering, grateful, furious at their imprisonment. "We will forge weapons for you," said Brontes. "We will arm you with the power of the heavens." And so they did. For Zeus, the thunderbolt, the burning spear of sky fire. For Poseidon, the trident, capable of shattering earth and sea. For Hades, the helm of invisibility, a cloak of shadow that turns gods into ghosts. Armed with divine weapons, the Olympians grew in confidence. But confidence alone could not win a war. 4. The awakening of the Hecatonchires. Beyond the Cyclopses lay the Hecatonchires, Kotos, Briareos, and Gyges, each with 100 arms and the strength to hurl entire mountains. When Zeus freed them, the earth trembled, the sky cracked, even the stars shuddered in their orbits. The giants bowed to Zeus. "We will fight for you, for we owe no loyalty to the Titans." Now the balance of power shifted. The universe felt it, the Titans felt it, and Cronus felt it most of all. 5. The opening of the war. The first clash of the Titanomachy did not happen with lightning or thunder. It began with a silence so vast that even the wind dared not move. On one side, Mount Othrys, stronghold of the Titans. On the other, Mount Olympus, seat of the young gods. Between them, the world. The first strike came from Zeus, a thunderbolt hurled with such force that the sky split into two blazing halves. The Titans responded with a storm of stone, iron, and cosmic fire. Atlas led the charge, his strength shaking mountains as he rushed into battle. Poseidon raised seas into towering walls of water. Hades vanished into shadow and reappeared behind Titan ranks, striking unseen. But the Titans were relentless. Hyperion burned with the light of the sun. Coeus hurled darkness like weapons. Iapetus carved through battle lines with cold precision. The war had begun, and it would last 10 long, brutal years. 6. Year after year of destruction. Year 1. Olympians win early ground with speed and surprise. Year 2. Titans push back with overwhelming strength. Year 3. Gaia intervenes, urging both sides to find balance. Both ignore her. Year 4. Mountains crumble, forests vanish, rivers evaporate. The world shakes under the constant fury of immortal beings. Year 5, Zeus grows stronger, his mastery of lightning deepens. Year 6, Atlas leads a massive counterattack, nearly breaking Olympus's defenses. Year 7, the Hecatonchires join fully, their 100 arms raining mountains onto Titan lines. Year 8, the sky burns red for weeks. Mortals, newly formed, hide in caves and pray to beings they do not understand. Year 9, the war reaches a stalemate. Neither side gains ground. Both know the end is near. Year 10, the final push begins. The turning point. The war began to tilt in favor of the Olympians when Zeus realized something. The Titans fought as individuals. The Olympians fought as a unit. Poseidon and Hades fought beside him. The Cyclopes hurled fire from the sky. The Hecatonchires smashed Titan ranks. And Zeus stood at the center, hurling bolt after bolt, each one brighter, hotter, deadlier than the last. Cronus, aged and weakened by fear and prophecy, began to falter. And Gaia whispered once more, "End this, end the cycle, or it will continue forever." 8. The final battle. The last day of the war began with a storm that covered the entire sky. Lightning fell like rain, oceans surged, volcanoes erupted in fury. Zeus stood before Cronus, father and son, tyrant and liberator, past and future. Their clash created shock waves felt beyond the edges of the universe. Zeus hurled the mightiest thunderbolt ever forged, a bolt that contained the full force of the heavens. It struck Cronus directly. The Titan king fell. The Titan army broke. The Hecatonchires bound the Titans in unbreakable chains. Zeus ordered them cast into Tartarus, deeper than even Cronus had dared to imprison his own foes. All except Atlas. For Atlas, Zeus had a special fate. 9. The punishment of Atlas. Atlas, fiercest of the Titan warriors, had stood against Zeus at every step. For his unbending loyalty to Cronus, Zeus sentenced him to bear the weight of the sky upon his shoulders, not as torture, but as a symbol that the age of Titans was over and the age of Olympus had begun. Atlas bowed under the heavens, his strength eternal, his burden unending. Symbolic analysis. The Titanomachy is not just mythic war, it is transition. The old being replaced by the new, chaos giving way to order, cycles of tyranny broken by courage. Cronus symbolizes fear, fear of prophecy, fear of change, fear of losing power. Zeus symbolizes transformation, the acceptance that the world must evolve. The Cyclops and Hecatonchires represent hidden potential, powers suppressed by the old order but necessary for the future. and Atlas symbolizes resistance, strength without vision, loyalty without wisdom. Every element of the Titanomachy mirrors a truth about cycles of power. No reign lasts forever. No order is absolute. Every age ends so another can begin. Calm outro. As the dust settles, as the mountains heal, as the scars of war fade, a new light rises over Olympus. Zeus ascends the throne, Poseidon claims the sea, Hades rules the unseen realm, and a new era begins. An era shaped by storms, justice, and destiny. But the peace will not last, for even in victory, new threats arise from the deep earth, from forgotten monsters, and from the hearts of gods themselves. The Titanomachy has ended, but the story of Zeus has only just begun. In the dawning silence of a world still trembling beneath the rule of the Titans, a prophecy whispered through the ancient winds, quiet, cold, and unforgiving. It spoke of a child, born from the mighty Titan Cronus, who would rise against him, a child who would shatter the old order and begin a new age. Under this shadow of fear, Cronus devoured each of his children the moment they entered the light, swallowing them whole to keep the prophecy at bay. But destiny has a way of bending around the will of tyrants, and in this fragile space between fate and fear, Zeus was born. The secret birth. Rhea, weary of watching her children consumed by their father, sought refuge far from Cronos's watchful gaze. She traveled across the sea to the sacred island of Crete, whose rugged mountains rose like ancient guardians. It was here, in the hidden cave of Dicte, that Zeus entered the world. Not with thunder, not with lightning, but with a quiet breath that carried the weight of ages yet to unfold. The cave walls glowed faintly with the warmth of new life. Outside, the winds howled as if trying to mask his first cries. Rhea knew that at any moment Cronus might sense something amiss, and so she acted swiftly. The stone trick. Rhea swaddled a stone in soft cloth, mimicking the weight and warmth of an infant. She delivered it to Cronus with trembling hands. The Titan king did not hesitate. He swallowed the stone whole. A hollow victory, a false sense of security, and the very act that would seal his downfall. Zeus, tiny, vulnerable, but fated for greatness, remained hidden. Raised in secret, Rhea entrusted the newborn to the Curetes, armored guardians whose shields clashed in rhythmic thunder to drown out the infant's cries. Their fierce dance of protection was a ritual as old as the earth itself. Zeus was nourished by Amalthea, the divine goat whose milk granted strength beyond mortal comprehension. Under her care, Zeus grew not only in body but in spirit. The cave became his sanctuary. The shadows became his teachers. The dripping water his lullaby. The mountain winds his first taste of power. As he grew, Amalthea watched him with gentle eyes, unaware that she was nurturing the future king of gods.
Zeus's early awakening. Even from childhood, Zeus displayed signs of the dominion he would eventually claim. When he cried, storms gathered. When he laughed, sparks danced across the cave walls like fireflies of light. The nymphs whispered among themselves, "This child is not like the others. He carries the sky within him." The earth itself, Gaia, felt his presence and stirred with anticipation. Training under the nymphs. Zeus was raised by nymphs who served as his earliest guides. Adrasteia, who taught him discipline and balance. Ida, who trained him in stealth and observation. Melia, who taught him wisdom and the importance of restraint. These lessons shaped the essence of Zeus. Where Cronus ruled with fear, Zeus learned the value of timing. Where Cronus devoured the future, Zeus learned to protect it. The breath of power. As Zeus entered adolescence, the cave could barely contain the energy growing within him. His hands sometimes crackled with stray arcs of lightning that flickered like the heartbeat of a newborn storm. At night, he dreamed of chains breaking, flames rising, a throne atop a mountain wrapped in clouds. The prophecy was awakening inside him. Zeus learns the truth. When Zeus grew to early adulthood, Rhea finally approached him in secret. Her voice trembled with both sorrow and hope as she revealed the truth. "You were born to end the cycle, my son. Your father devoured your siblings out of fear. But fear is not strength. The prophecy lives in you." Zeus listened not with anger, but with clarity. For the first time, he saw the storm that awaited him. The turning point. Zeus knew he could not remain hidden forever. A time would come when he must rise, quietly or with thunder, and reshape the world. But no victory could be achieved alone. He would need allies. He would need strategy. He would need courage greater than any Titan. The shadows of the cave faded from his destiny, and the horizon called to him with the promise of upheaval. Leaving Crete. With heavy steps and a steady heart, Zeus left the cave that had cradled his life since birth. The nymphs watched him depart, their eyes filled with pride and fear in equal measure. The Curetes struck their shields one last time, a farewell thunder. The winds shifted, the earth trembled, and somewhere in the distance, Cronus shuddered, sensing a presence he thought he had erased. The child of prophecy was no longer hidden. He was coming.
The allies of the storm. Zeus gathers power and frees his siblings. The winds shifted across the ancient world as Zeus left the hidden sanctuary of Crete. His footsteps pressed into the earth with a quiet certainty, each stride carrying the weight of prophecy. Far above him, the sky rolled with slow-moving clouds, as if watching the young god with silent anticipation. Zeus knew that challenging Cronus directly was impossible. The Titan king commanded the universe with an iron will, his paranoia tightening like a fist around existence itself. Zeus needed something stronger than raw power. He needed wisdom. He needed allies. He needed to begin the first quiet rebellion. The search for Metis.
His journey brought him to the realm of Oceanus, the titan of the great outer river that encircled the world. Unlike his brothers, Oceanus had never joined the harsh rulership of Cronus. He kept his distance from the palace atop Mount Othrys and preferred the quiet depths of his flowing domain. It was there that Zeus met Metis, a daughter of Oceanus and Tethys, renowned for her cunning and clarity of thought. Her presence was soft, yet commanding, like the calm before a storm. When Zeus approached her, he did not hide his purpose. "Metis," he said, "the world suffers under Cronos' fear. I wish to end the cycle and restore balance, but I cannot do it alone." Metis studied him for a long moment, her eyes reflecting the shimmering currents beneath them. "You seek to challenge a king who devours time itself," she whispered. "You will need more than strength, Zeus. You will need strategy, patience, and a way to turn your father's own hunger against him." Zeus felt the spark of possibility flare within him. It was Metis who first proposed the plan that would shift the course of divine history. The potion of revelation. "Your father swallowed your siblings whole," she explained, gathering rare herbs and minerals with deliberate precision. "But nothing swallowed is lost. They remain alive, waiting in darkness." Zeus felt his breath hitch. The idea that his brothers and sisters, Hades, Poseidon, Hera, Demeter, and Hestia, still lived within Cronus stirred something deep and ancient inside him. Metis continued, "I will create a draft powerful enough to wrench them from Cronos' stomach. It will force him to confront what he thought he had eliminated." Zeus watched her as she mixed her potion by moonlight. Crushed root of sacred ash, powdered stone from Mount Othrys itself, threads of starlight drawn from Oceanus' currents, the whisper of an ancient incantation. The liquid glowed like molten silver. "This," she said, holding out the vial, "is your first weapon in the war to come. Use it wisely." Zeus accepted the vial, feeling its heat pulse against his palm like a heartbeat. Zeus returned to the land where the Titans ruled, approaching Cronus not with sword or storm, but with the confidence of one who knows destiny stands behind him. Disguised among the attendants of the Titan court, Zeus watched his father from a distance. Cronus sat upon his throne of obsidian, shadows twisting around him like serpents. His eyes glinted with perpetual suspicion. Every whisper in the palace made him tense. Every gust of wind made him scan the horizon. The prophecy consumed him long before any child could. Zeus approached with respectful composure and offered Cronus the potion, disguised as a sacred drink of hospitality. Cronus drank. The effect was immediate. His body shuddered violently. A thunderous sound tore through the hall, and then, one by one, the gods he had swallowed were expelled in a burst of divine force. Hestia, radiant with quiet fire. Demeter, wrapped in the scent of newborn earth. Hera, blazing with dignity and strength. Hades, dark and silent as the deep caverns below. Poseidon, roaring with the echo of ocean storms. They collapsed, gasping, overwhelmed by sudden freedom after ages of darkness. For the first time, Zeus stood face to face with his true siblings. Cronus, disoriented and enraged, stumbled from his throne, bellowing in confusion. "Who has done this?" His voice shook the very pillars of the palace. Zeus stepped forward, not in fear, but in quiet, unwavering resolve. "I am Zeus, your son, the one you sought to destroy." The silence that followed was heavier than stone. Cronus knew instantly. The prophecy had survived. It had grown, and it now stood before him. Before Cronus could retaliate, Zeus signaled his newly freed siblings, and together they fled the palace. The world trembled. The age of peace among the Titans was over. The gathering of the Olympians. Far from Mount Othrys, the 6 siblings regrouped in a secluded valley surrounded by towering cliffs. They had been strangers in darkness, but now stood together as the beginnings of a new generation. Poseidon's voice thundered, "You freed us. We owe you our loyalty, brother." Hades bowed his head. "Hiding from Cronus is no longer possible. War is inevitable." Hera, with regal fire in her eyes, added, "He swallowed us in fear, but fear is weakness. We will fight." Demeter placed her hand on the earth beneath them. "The earth itself groans under Cronus's rule. It will aid us." Hestia's calm voice wrapped around them like warmth. "We must stand as one, family, united." Zeus felt something shift within him, an awakening. For the first time, he saw himself not as a hidden child, but as a leader, a force destined to challenge the old order. Together they forged a pact to end the tyranny of Cronus and to begin a new age for gods and mortals. The first thunder. That night, as Zeus looked up at the swirling sky, a bolt of lightning crashed into his hands, pure, blinding, electrifying. It came of its own accord, as if the sky recognized its future master. A slow smile crossed Zeus's lips. The war had not begun yet, but destiny had already chosen its victor.
The Titanomachy begins, the great war of gods and titans. The world stood at the edge of a storm unlike anything it had ever known. The sky darkened, the mountains trembled, rivers shifted in their beds, unsure of what was coming. Zeus and his newly freed siblings had escaped Cronus, but escape alone was not victory. The Titan King's wrath spread like wildfire. His army stirred, and the ancient world braced for impact. This was the moment where myths diverged from the quiet, whispered stories of the past. This was the moment that would reshape fate itself. The Titanomachy, the Great War, was about to begin. Seeking the ancient beings. Zeus understood something that even Cronus had forgotten. Strength does not come only from power. It comes from alliances, wisdom, and knowing the true forces that shape the world. He recalled whispers from Rhea, stories she once told in hushed tones. Your grandfather Uranus once imprisoned beings of great might, beings feared even by the Titans. Zeus knew immediately who she meant. The Cyclopes, masters of thunder, lightning, and divine craftsmanship. The Heconcancaries, the 100-handed ones, colossal beings of unimaginable force. They were locked away in Tartarus, deep beneath the earth, bound in chains forged by Cronus himself. If Zeus could free them, the balance of the coming war would shift forever. Journey into Tartarus. Zeus, accompanied by Hades and Poseidon, traveled to the edge of the underworld. Hades, feeling an eerie sense of familiarity, guided them through caverns lit by ghost flames, past rivers of shadow and ancient spirits that drifted like drifting memories. At the gates of Tartarus, the air thickened with scorching heat. The darkness was so dense it felt alive, ancient, hungry, endless. Poseidon placed his trident against the ground. "It is as if even the sea fears this place," he murmured. Zeus stepped forward. "No one rules unchallenged forever." They descended into the abyss. The cries of the imprisoned beings echoed through the caverns, deep, rhythmic, vibrating through stone. The Cyclopes groaned like distant earthquakes. The Heconcancaries shifted, their countless hands clanking against colossal chains. Zeus's voice thundered through the void. "I am Zeus, son of Rhea and rightful heir of the sky. I come to free you." A silence fell. Then a rumbling voice answered. "Break our chains, and we will forge your destiny." The forging of the weapons. Hades shattered the first chain with shadows that cut like obsidian. Poseidon tore apart the second with waves of raw power. Zeus struck the last chain with a bolt of lightning so bright it seared the darkness open. The Cyclopes rose, massive, ancient, eyes glowing like suns. Grateful beyond measure, they forged gifts in return. To Zeus they gave the master bolt, pure, concentrated storm. To Poseidon they crafted the trident, the symbol of oceans and earthquakes. To Hades they created the helm of shadow, a crown of invisibility and terror. With these weapons, the Olympians were no longer fugitives. They were warriors, and the world shuddered in anticipation. The first clash. Cronus gathered his armies atop Mount Othrys, the seat of Titan power. Beside him stood Hyperion, the Titan of light, Iapetus, the Titan of mortality, Coeus, the Titan of the mind, Crios, the ram of the constellations. Legion upon legion of Titan-born giants. Their roars split the sky. Zeus and his siblings ascended Mount Olympus, which would one day become the heart of divine rule, but now stood only as a battleground waiting to earn its legacy. The tension between the two mountains, Othrys and Olympus, formed an invisible line of destiny. The first bolt of lightning cracked the sky. The first roar echoed across the valleys. The Titanomachy had begun. 10 years of war. The war did not end in a single day, nor a single season. It raged for 10 long years, shaking the foundations of the world. In the first years, Zeus led the charge with lightning that split mountains. Poseidon summoned tidal waves that crashed over Titan fortresses. Hades swallowed armies with shadows that rose like storms of night. But the Titans were ancient, powerful, and unyielding. The Olympians were young, passionate, but untested. Middle years.
balance of power. During the 5th year of war, neither side held dominance. The sky remained neutral, clouds gathering but not striking. The earth groaned under constant shifts of battle. Gaia wept for her children, Titans and Olympians alike. Her tears became rivers. The Titans strike back. Hyperion unleashed light so blinding it scorched Olympus. Iapetus wielded brute force that shattered cliffs. Cronus himself hurled boulders the size of hills, determined to crush the future before it could rise. Zeus fought back with ferocity, but doubt began to creep in. Could prophecy alone deliver victory? The turning point. The Heconcancaries joined the battle. In the 7th year, Zeus summoned the Heconcancaries, giants with 100 hands each, strength beyond gods or titans. Their arrival shook the battlefield like the awakening of mountains. Each of their 100 hands hurled boulders with the force of meteors. Winds shifted, firestorms rose. The war leaned in favor of the Olympians. Cronus, for the first time, felt fear reach his bones. Zeus ascends as commander. Zeus began to understand the rhythm of war, when to strike, when to retreat, when to unleash lightning, when to use silence. He learned to read the battlefield as if it were an extension of himself. His voice carried across the mountains. Brothers, sisters, this is not merely a battle for power. This is a battle for the future. His presence inspired the Olympians, and anywhere he walked, storms followed. Anywhere he pointed, lightning obeyed. The Titans sensed the shift. The prophecy was awakening. The storm was rising. And Cronus, the devourer of his own children, realized the child he failed to consume was no longer a boy hiding in a cave. He was a storm made flesh. The final battle approached. The fall of the Titans. Zeus claims the sky, and the age of Olympus begins. The 10th year of war dawned heavy and gray. Nothing in the ancient world remained untouched by the Titanomachy. Mountains stood cracked like broken teeth. Forests lay scorched or drowned. Rivers wandered from their ancient paths, unsure where to flow. Even the sky seemed exhausted, hung low with the weight of storms unleashed and storms yet to come. At the center of this ravaged world, 2 mountains glared across the vast plain. Mount Othrys, seat of the Titans, dark and brooding. Mount Olympus, rising with youthful defiance. Between them, destiny waited. The war had reached its final day. The gathering before the final clash. Zeus stood atop Olympus, cloak rippling in the wind, lightning dancing between his fingers like restless serpents of light. His siblings gathered around him. Poseidon, gripping his trident, the sea swirling behind his eyes. Hades, silent and composed, shadows clinging to his form. Hera, flame-hearted, gaze steady and unbroken. Demeter, calm, yet terrifying in her quiet resolve. Hestia, radiating a steady warmth that anchored their hearts. Behind them stood an army of beings once imprisoned, the Cyclops, the Hecatonchires, and countless spirits loyal to the rising new order. A hush fell over the battlefield. Zeus inhaled deeply.
the sky itself filling his lungs. It ends today. Not a shout, not a cry, just truth. The Titans' last stand. Across the valley, Cronus emerged from the shadows of Mount Othrys. He towered above his siblings, muscles tense, eyes burning with desperation. Around him stood the Titans, Hyperion glowing like a fallen sun, Iapetus bracing with brute force, Coeus wrapped in swirling thoughts, Creus crowned with constellations. Behind them roared beasts ancient and half-forgotten, monsters born before memory had a name. Cronus raised his sickle, the same blade with which he had once overthrown his own father. There will be no new order. There will be no future for children who defy their maker. The ground cracked beneath his feet. Zeus stepped forward. You devoured the future and called it strength. But strength is not fear. Lightning surged around him in spirals. The final battle began. The War of the Heavens. The clash shook the world. Zeus hurled bolt after bolt, each one splitting the sky open in blinding arcs. Cronus answered by tearing mountains from the earth and throwing them like stones. Poseidon unleashed waves that roared across the battlefield, crashing into Titan ranks. Hyperion countered with scorching beams of sunlight so intense they turned sand into glass. The Cyclops rained fire and molten stone from the ridges. The Titanomachy hurled hundreds of boulders with such force that storms formed in their wake. For hours or ages, the battle raged with no certainty of victory. Zeus versus Cronus, father and son. At last, the Titans and Olympians fell back, leaving a single circle cleared between them. Zeus stepped inside. Cronus mirrored him. The two forces, old and new, met in the center of the world. Lightning rippled from Zeus's shoulders. Time warped and twisted around Cronus, bending like a wounded animal. The air grew heavy. The world seemed to hold its breath. Cronus charged first, swinging his sickle in a downward arc. Zeus dodged, sending a bolt into the ground that exploded like a newborn star. Cronus staggered, then retaliated with a wave of raw temporal energy that withered everything it touched. Zeus held up his hand. Lightning wrapped around his arm like a shield. The clash of their powers sent shock waves across the valley. Cronus roared, "You cannot escape your blood. You are born of my throne." Zeus's reply came like thunder. "Then I will forge my own." A surge of lightning erupted, brighter than dawn itself. For a moment, everything was silent, as if the world forgot to exist. Then the light faded. Zeus stood tall. Cronus knelt, weakened, defeated, but not destroyed. The prophecy had come to pass. The Titans fall. The defeated Titans, Cronus, Hyperion, Iapetus, Coeus, and Creus, were bound in chains, forged by the Cyclops. Their roars echoed with fury and disbelief. The Titanomachy stepped forward, towering like mountains. "Where shall we take them?" one asked. Zeus pointed to the deep abyss beneath the world, the prison built long before gods or mortals took breath.
Tartarus. The ground opened like a hungry maw. The Titans were cast into its depths, their chains glowing with unbreakable runes. The Hecatonchires descended with them, becoming the eternal wardens of the fallen age. The earth rumbled as the gates of Tartarus sealed. The age of the Titans was over. A new world, a new order. In the silence that followed the war, Zeus and his siblings climbed Mount Olympus. The air was crisp and bright, washed clean by the storm of battle. Zeus stood at the peak, looking over the scarred world. It felt waiting, ready, open. His siblings gathered beside him. Poseidon spoke first. "What becomes of us now?" Zeus looked to the horizon. "We rebuild, not as tyrants, not as devourers of the future, but as guardians of a new age." Hades stepped forward. "Then divide the world. Let each of us rule apart, so no one reigns alone." Zeus nodded. A great draw was made. Zeus claimed the sky, the storms, the thunder, the laws of gods and men. Poseidon claimed the sea, with all its depths and storms. Hades claimed the underworld, the realm of shadows and spirits. The earth itself remained shared among them, a gift of Gaia. This balance, this trinity, would shape eternity. The birth of Olympus. With the world divided and peace restored, Zeus raised his hands. Clouds gathered, winds swirled, the mountain beneath him glowed with divine light, and from stone and storm and sky, Olympus awakened. A shining palace formed upon its peak, pillars of white marble, halls that echoed with eternal music, steps carved from sunlight itself. It became the home of the 12 Olympians, the new gods who would watch over mortals, fate, war, love, wisdom, and the cycle of life. Zeus stood at its threshold, his master bolt glowing softly in his hands. For the first time in his life, the storm inside him felt calm. Hera approached, placing a hand upon his shoulder. "You are king now." Zeus looked to the sky. "No," he said, "I am its servant." And with that, he took his place upon the highest throne, the king of the sky, the lord of Olympus, the ruler of gods and men.